It was a Tuesday night, the kind where nothing is supposed to happen. I had a bowl of reheated chili on the coffee table, the TV on low, and my laptop open to a spreadsheet I'd been using to track the trip. Not because I'm obsessive, because that's how I stay calm. Numbers, dates, confirmation codes, a simple way to make sure life stays where I put it. Claire was on the rug in our living room, folding clothes into a new hard-shell suitcase. The zipper made that clean, expensive sound every time she tested it. The suitcase was still tagged from the boutique in the mall. I remembered very clearly paying for it while she joked that it was an investment in our future. My phone buzzed once. I glanced down, expecting a bank alert or a work email. Instead, the airline app lit up with a message that didn't make sense on the first read. Itinerary updated. Passenger changed. I stared at it until the words settled into something real. Then I tapped. My name was no longer attached to the first-class seat. In its place was a new passenger, Mason Hart. Mason was Claire's older brother, 33, charming when he wanted something, unemployed in long stretches, always between plans, always somehow landing on his feet because someone else absorbed the fall. I didn't move. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even feel heat in my face the way I thought a person is supposed to feel in a moment like that. I just said calmly, "Claire." She kept folding. A silk blouse, smoothed with both hands like she was pressing out wrinkles in her conscience. "Yeah?" "My seat is gone," I said. "My ticket." That finally made her look up. Not with guilt, not with surprise, with irritation, like I'd interrupted her in the middle of something important. "Evan," she sighed, as if my name itself was a burden. "Don't start." I held the phone out, screen facing her. I didn't shove it at her. I just presented it the way you'd present a receipt when someone says they didn't order the extra charge. Her eyes flicked over the screen. She didn't blink. "You switched it," I said. "You moved my first-class seat to Mason." Claire leaned back on her heels and did that little head tilt she uses when she's decided she's the reasonable one in the room. "He needs it more than you do," she said, like she was explaining a basic concept to a child. "He's not doing well." I waited. I let the air fill the space between us. "Mason is going through it," she continued. "Jenna left. He's been sleeping on my mom's couch. He's depressed. He needs a win. He needs to get away for a little bit, and this trip, this is perfect timing." I kept my voice level. "This is our anniversary trip." "And you'll be fine," she said immediately. Quick, practiced. "You're always fine. You're steady. You don't need Kyoto to survive, Evan. You can just work. Pick up shifts. Make up the hours. Mason needs a reset." I looked down at the screen again, like it might correct itself if I stared long enough. 11 months of saving. A year of planning. I had paid for the flights, the hotel, the rail passes, the dinners she'd bookmarked, the non-refundable upgrades she wanted because she said once, "If we're going to do it, let's do it right." And now I was being told I was fine, which was her way of saying I didn't count. I said, "You did this without asking me." She waved a hand, impatient. I didn't have time for a debate. Mom agreed with me. She said it was the noble thing to do. Us. We. Noble. Words people use when they want your money to feel like a moral obligation. "Mason hasn't held a job in almost a year," I said, still calm. "Last spring he borrowed your mom's credit card and didn't pay it back." "That was months ago," Claire snapped, and the sound of the suitcase zipper was suddenly sharp when she closed it. "He's family. Family comes first. Always." Then she stood up, smoothed her hands down the front of her dress like she was smoothing down the whole conversation. She walked toward me and tapped my cheek with 2 fingers, light and condescending, like I was a dog that needed reassurance. "Be a man about it," she said. "Stop pouting. It's unsexy." She turned toward the hallway, already moving on. "Oh," she added, casual, like it was nothing. "We have to leave for the airport at 4:30. Can you drive? Mason's car is still in the shop." I stood there in the doorway of our living room, the phone still glowing in my hand. On the kitchen counter, the folder with all the trip printouts sat exactly where I'd left it. Receipts, confirmation pages, the lease paperwork I'd been meaning to file, all in one place because I like things organized. I looked at that folder a long time. Then I heard the shower turn on, water hitting tile, and I realized something quiet in me had shifted into place. I didn't feel rage. I felt finished. "Sure," I called down the hall, my voice steady. "I'll drive you." And that night, while she slept like nothing had happened, I lay awake, thinking about a clause I'd noticed when we signed our apartment lease. Something small, something easy to overlook, something that suddenly felt important enough to read twice. The drive to the airport was quiet in the way that isn't peaceful. It was still dark, that early blue hour where the city feels borrowed. Streetlights hummed, the heater clicked on and off. Mason sat in the passenger seat, my seat, scrolling through his phone with the volume just loud enough to be inconsiderate. He didn't say thank you, he talked about food instead, about how he wanted to try real ramen, about how the hotel spa better be worth the hype. He complained about the seat recline like it was already his right to judge it. Claire sat in the back, texting. I recognized the rhythm of her thumbs. That was her mom. It always was in moments like this. Updates, reassurance, a shared narrative being written in real time that I wasn't invited into. At one point, Mason adjusted the radio and said, "Man, these early flights are brutal," like I was part of the inconvenience instead of the reason he was there. I kept my eyes on the road. When we pulled up to the departure terminal, I popped the trunk and stayed seated. The curb was slick with last night's rain. The automatic doors hissed open and closed as other people stepped into their mornings. Mason looked back at me. "You gonna help with the bags?" "My back's tight," I said. It wasn't true, but it was easy. He shrugged and lifted the suitcase himself. Claire leaned forward between the seats and kissed my cheek. It was dry. Distracted. "Thanks for being understanding," she said. "Don't wait up next week. Mom's picking us up when we get back. Enjoy the quiet." Quiet, like it was a favor. I watched them walk away without turning around. The doors swallowed them. Then they were gone. I sat there for a full minute after that, engine running, hands on the wheel, letting the silence finish what it had started. I didn't go home. I drove straight to the leasing office. Our apartment complex was one of those new builds, clean lines, neutral paint, glass doors that make everything feel temporary. The manager, Greg, recognized me right away. He always did. I was the one who paid early, the one who handled maintenance requests, the one whose name was actually on the paperwork. "Hey, Evan," he said, lifting his coffee mug. "Everything okay?" "Great," I said, and meant that I was calm. Not that things were good. I slid my checkbook onto the desk. "I need to terminate the lease," I said. "Effective immediately." Greg paused, mug halfway to his mouth. "You're kidding." "No." He leaned back, surprised but professional. "There's a 2-month breakage fee." "I know." I wrote the check without hesitation. The number didn't hurt the way it would have a year ago. It felt clean, intentional. "And the occupant?" Greg asked carefully. "She's not listed as financially responsible." "Once I'm off the lease," I said, "she's unauthorized." He nodded slowly. "Technically, yes. Unit would need to be vacated within 48 hours. "Good," I said. "Schedule the walkthrough for next Thursday." "That's when she gets back," I finished. Greg didn't ask anything else. I walked out into the parking lot and made one phone call. "Mike," I said when he answered. "I need a truck and a place to stay." There was a pause. Then, "What happened?" "She gave my plane ticket to her brother." Another pause. Longer. "Say no more," he said. "I'm on my way. I'll bring boxes." By noon, we were in the apartment. This is something you don't realize when you're the stable one in a relationship. You don't just support the household. You are the household. Over time, your name ends up offering shelter to everything. The couch, the TV, the dining table, the kitchenware, the router, the bed frame, the lamps, even the light bulbs. I'd replace the cheap ones because they flickered. We worked methodically, no music, no commentary, just boxes filling, tape sealing, rooms emptying. Mike raised an eyebrow when I took the batteries out of the remotes. You serious? I bought them, I said. Into the box. By the second night, the apartment echoed. Not empty, stripped. Claire's things were left exactly where they'd been. Her clothes lay in loose piles on the floor. Her skincare bottles sat on the bathroom counter, untouched, useless in the dark once the bulbs were gone. It looked like a place someone had passed through without ever belonging. Late that night, sitting on Mike's guest bed, I opened my banking app and stared at one last detail I'd almost overlooked. The credit card on file for the hotel incidentals. I put the phone face down. Then I turned it back over and reported the card lost. And after that, I waited. The silence lasted longer than I expected. 4 days, to be exact. No calls, no texts, no missed notifications lighting up my phone at odd hours. I went to work. I cooked simple meals. I slept straight through the night. There was a strange steadiness to those days, like my body finally realized it didn't need to stay alert anymore. On the second morning, I canceled the phone plan. It was under my name, all 3 lines. Mine, Claire's, and, without much thought at the time, her mother's. I'd added it years ago after a dropped call argument turned into a family meeting about reliability. The cancellation took less than 5 minutes. On the 3rd day, I changed my mailing address. Then I updated my payroll records. Then I closed the joint streaming accounts. Each step was small, administrative, almost boring. That was the point. This wasn't emotional. It was corrective. On Wednesday morning, my work email chimed. The subject line read, "Where are you?" It came from a generic internet cafe address. Evan, my phone isn't working. Neither is Mom's. The hotel says the card for room service was declined. Mason is freaking out because he can't upload anything. Call me immediately. This isn't funny. I read it once. Then I deleted it. An hour later, another email. We ran up a tab at the bar last night thinking it was covered. The front desk says we need a new card on file or they'll lock the room. I don't have that kind of limit. Fix this. I dragged it to the trash. By Thursday, the tone changed. Please, I don't know what's happening. Are you mad about the ticket? I said I was sorry. We're at the train station and I can't even book a ride because everything is linked to your number. I'm scared. I felt it then. Just a flicker. The old reflex. Fix it. Smooth it over. Be useful. I closed the laptop instead. That night, Mike grilled steaks in his backyard. The smell of charcoal hung in the air. We ate at a small patio table under a single bulb. No complaints about seasoning. No comments about cholesterol. Just quiet chewing and the sound of cicadas. You okay? He asked, not looking at me. Yeah, I said. And this time, it wasn't just calm. It was true. Sunday afternoon, the doorbell rang. I wasn't home. I was at the grocery store, buying containers to prep lunches for the week. Mike answered it. Later, he showed me the footage from his door camera. It was Claire's mother. She stood too close to the door, knocking like authority could be forced through wood. I know he's here, she said. He stole everything. He emptied the apartment. Mike opened the door halfway. He filled the frame without trying. He doesn't live here, Mike said calmly. She has nowhere to go, her mother snapped. That was her home. Mike leaned against the door frame. Pretty sure he took what he paid for, which was most of it. I'm calling the police. Go ahead, he said. He kept receipts, even for the salt. She left 10 minutes later. I watched the footage once. I didn't need to watch it again. 2 days after that, I saw Claire in person for the first time since the airport. She was waiting by my car when I walked out of work. Same coat, same bag. Everything else looked worn down around the edges. She moved fast when she saw me. You, she said, like my name was a charge. I unlocked the door calmly. How could you do this? She asked. I came back to nothing. The lease was gone. The locks didn't work. Family comes first, I said. She froze. What? That's what you told me, I said. So I stepped aside. She stared at me like she was trying to find the version of me that used to explain himself. I didn't mean this, she said. I meant one trip. It wasn't about the trip, I said. It was about the decision. She reached for my arm. I stepped back. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just opened the car door. And that was the moment she realized I wasn't coming back. She stood there saying my name once, softer this time. I got in the car. And when I drove away, I didn't check the mirror. I already knew what I was leaving behind. I didn't block her number. That wasn't restraint. It was structure. Blocking invites chaos later. Borrowed phones, new emails, unexpected appearances. Silence, when done properly, is cleaner. It leaves a record. It lets patterns expose themselves without interference. So I let everything go to voicemail. I set one inbox rule at work. Anything from an unfamiliar address with her name in the body routed to a folder I titled Hold. Not trash. Not yet. Hold is for evidence. By the end of that week, there were 9 emails in it. They followed a sequence I recognized. Confusion, anger, blame, bargaining, each one shorter than the last. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I did something I should have done years earlier. I audited my life the way I audit a project that's gone off track. Step 1. Confirm ownership. The lease was done. That was clean. I pulled the confirmation from the property manager and saved it as a PDF. Date stamped, signed, final. Step 2. Separate finances. There had never been a joint bank account, which, in hindsight, told me everything I needed to know about how she saw me. Still, there were shared conveniences, subscriptions, auto payments, cloud storage, the kind of things that blur over time. I canceled them all, not dramatically, not all at once, one per day. Step 3. Document the past. I went back through my email archive. Old confirmations, old invoices, the flight booking, the hotel, the upgrades, the messages where she'd sent links and said, "Can you just put this on your card? I'll Venmo you later." There was no Venmo history. I didn't feel anger as I compiled it. I felt clarity, like reading a timeline that finally made sense once you know the ending. On Monday morning, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I let it ring out. The voicemail was from a hotel manager, polite, professional, measured. "Mr. Harris, this is regarding the reservation in Osaka. We've had some difficulties securing payment for incidentals. If you could call us back." I didn't. That afternoon, another email landed in hold. "Evan, this has gone too far. Mason is panicking. Mom is furious. Everyone thinks you're trying to punish us. This is cruel. Cruel." I read that word twice. I thought about the way she'd patted my cheek, the way she'd called it unsexy when I didn't immediately comply, the way my seat had disappeared with a few taps on her phone, no conversation required. I closed the email. That night, I sat at Mike's kitchen table with my laptop open and a legal pad beside it. No music, no distractions, just columns. What I owed, nothing. What I had paid, everything. What was shared, convenience, not responsibility. There's a calm that comes from realizing you are no longer improvising, that you're following procedure. On Wednesday, her brother showed up at my office. Security called me down, said a man was asking for me by name, agitated. I told them I wasn't available. 10 minutes later, another call. Same answer. I watched from my window as he paced the sidewalk, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing like the world owed him resolution. Eventually, he left. That night, I received a message from Claire. A new email address, personal, direct. "I never thought you'd do this. I trusted you." I didn't reply. Trust isn't something you claim after you've already spent it. Thursday evening, I opened Hold one last time. I forwarded the entire folder, emails, attachments, timestamps, to a single contact. A lawyer, Michael's cousin, quiet, precise. The kind of person who doesn't ask for the story, just the facts. His reply came an hour later. "You're covered. Do not engage further. Let them escalate if they choose. Everything you've done is clean." I shut the laptop. Outside, the street was quiet. A neighbor walked a dog. Someone laughed 2 houses down, normal life continuing without needing my permission. I poured a glass of water and stood by the window, thinking not about what I'd lost, but about how little there was left to fix. And that's when I realized the confrontation, if it came, would show up on my schedule, not hers. I went to bed early. The next morning, my phone buzzed once with a calendar alert I hadn't set. Meeting, parking lot, 6:10 p.m. I knew exactly who it would be. I didn't rush that afternoon. I finished my workday the way I always do, clearing emails, closing tabs, straightening my desk. When you move too fast, people think you're running. I wasn't. At 6:08, I walked out of the building. She was already there. Claire stood near my car, arms crossed, weight shifted to one hip like she'd been waiting long enough to justify anger. Her hair was pulled back in a way that said she hadn't planned to see anyone important. Her eyes were sharp, alert, hunting for leverage. "Evan," she said the moment she saw me. Not loud, tight. I stopped a few feet away. Close enough to talk, far enough to keep the space clean. "You ended the lease," she said. "You canceled the phones. You humiliated my family." I unlocked my car but didn't open the door yet. "You reassigned my plane ticket without asking me," I said. "We're not debating scale. We're acknowledging sequence." Her mouth opened, then closed again. "That was different," she said finally. "Mason needed help." "And I didn't," I said. Not accusatory, just factual. She stepped closer. "You didn't have to destroy my life over one decision." I looked at her then. Really looked. Jet lag had softened the edge she usually carried. There was fear underneath the anger now, and confusion. She was trying to locate the version of me that would fold, the one that would apologize just to end the discomfort. "You didn't lose your life," I said. "You lost access." She shook her head. "You're being cold." "No," I said. "I'm being precise." She laughed once, sharp and short. "You think this makes you strong?" "I think it makes things accurate," I said. Her voice cracked, just a little. "Where am I supposed to go?" I didn't answer right away. This was the moment where, in the past, I would have stepped in, offered a solution, found a landing pad, fixed it. Instead, I said, "You told me family comes first." She stared at me, recognition flickering. "They're there," I continued. "That's consistency." She reached for my arm. I stepped back. "Don't," I said calmly. "We're not doing that." Her face collapsed then, the way it does when someone realizes the conversation they practiced isn't going to happen. "I loved you," she said. "I believe you believed that," I replied. She wiped her face with the heel of her hand. "You didn't have to be so extreme." I opened the car door. "This wasn't extreme," I said. "It was thorough." She stood there as I got in. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she said my name once more, quieter now. Not as a demand, as a test. I didn't look back. I closed the door, started the engine, and drove away at a normal speed. No screeching tires, no final words, just separation done properly. That night, I forwarded one final note from my lawyer to a personal folder and archived it. Then I cooked dinner. Simple, clean. Ate at the counter. Before bed, I washed the plate, dried it, and put it back exactly where it belonged. My phone stayed silent. And for the first time in a long while, silence didn't feel like waiting. The legal part moved faster than I expected. 2 weeks after the parking lot conversation, Claire filed a complaint. Not directly, through a local legal aid office. The language was dramatic, words like displacement and emotional harm, claims that I had removed her from her home without notice. My lawyer called me that afternoon. "She's not on the lease," he said. "She never was. She never paid rent. There's no eviction here." He asked for 3 things: the lease agreement, proof of payment, the termination confirmation. I had them all in one folder. He submitted them the same day. The hearing lasted 10 minutes. The judge asked Claire a single question. "Can you provide evidence of tenancy or financial contribution?" She couldn't. The complaint was dismissed without commentary. No lecture, no sympathy, just procedure doing what it's supposed to do. After that, the noise shifted to social media. I didn't see it myself. Friends told me. Long posts, carefully framed stories about how I'd been controlling, how I'd abandoned her when she was vulnerable, how money had been used as leverage. What she didn't account for was time. Over 5 years, patterns form. People notice who always picks up the check, who books the trips, who quietly pays for emergencies without broadcasting it. Questions started appearing under her posts. Didn't Evan pay for the Japan trip? Why was your brother on your anniversary vacation? Were you actually on the lease? The posts came down within a week. After that, there was nothing. No more emails, no calls from unknown numbers, no appearances near my office. A friend mentioned she'd moved back in with her parents, that things were tense, that Mason had wrecked the rental car overseas and left early, that money was tight. I didn't ask for details. At work, my focus sharpened. Without constant interruptions, without the background anxiety of managing someone else's emergencies, I finished projects early. I got noticed. A quiet raise followed. At home, my own place now, smaller, cleaner, I fell into routines that felt grounding. Morning coffee at the same time, evening walks, cooking without commentary. One night, 6 months after the airport, I logged into my savings account and paused. There was more in it than I expected. When you stop funding chaos, stability compounds quickly. I booked a trip, not to Japan. That felt closed, complete. I chose New Zealand. 2 weeks, hiking, quiet towns, space. I went alone. On the flight, I sat in my seat, watched the wing cut through cloud, and felt something settle that I didn't know had been restless. A week after I got back, I met someone for coffee. Her name was Mara. When the check came, I reached for it out of habit. She stopped me gently. "I've got this one," she said. "You can get the next." There was no performance in it, no test, just balance. I walked home that evening and tidied the kitchen, wiped the counter, set things back where they belonged. The remote had batteries. The lights worked. The salt was exactly where I'd left it. And that was when I understood the real outcome. Not victory, alignment, everything in its proper place. The mornings are quieter now. I wake up without checking my phone first. I make coffee and let it cool a little before I drink it. I open the windows even when it's cold outside, just to let the room breathe. There's a rhythm to the days that doesn't require explanation or permission. On Sundays, I clean. Not aggressively, just enough to reset things. Counters wiped, floors swept, laundry folded and put away the same day. Small acts of ownership that remind me where my energy goes now. Every so often, someone brings her up. A mutual friend, a coworker who heard a version of the story secondhand. They usually ask if I regret how it ended, if I think I could have handled it softer. I tell them the truth. It ended the way it needed to. Boundaries don't feel kind to people who benefited from you not having any. That doesn't make them wrong. It makes them necessary. Last week, I got a call from my cousin. He's engaged, sounded tired. He asked if we could talk, said he was helping out more than usual, paying for things that weren't his responsibility, feeling guilty for wanting space. I listened. I didn't interrupt. When he finished, I told him what I wish someone had told me earlier. Support is a choice. Obligation is a warning sign. We talked for another half hour. When we hung up, I felt that familiar calm, the kind that comes from clarity being passed forward, not forced. That night, I sat on my couch with a cup of tea and no background noise. Just the room, steady and intact. The life I'm living now doesn't require me to sit anything out. If I'm not invited as an equal, I don't attend at all. And that's enough. If this story resonated with you, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It helps this channel reach people who might need to hear something calm and honest today. I'd also love to know where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. Drop it in the comments. I read them more than you think. 2 popular stories will be appearing next, and they follow a similar thread. Quiet moments, clear decisions, and what happens when someone finally chooses themselves. I'll see you there.